So, Mayor Moedas, I know that you have a long history with America. I believe you studied there. You've spent quite a bit of time there. Tell me about your experiences in the States.
Look, first of all, I love the United States because the United States somehow changed my life when I was very young. I remember that I was 25, 26 years old, and I decided that I wanted to do an MBA and to apply for an MBA. And I applied for that MBA in Europe in a school called INSEAD, and I applied to Harvard Business School. And when I got the call from the European school at the time, from INSEAD, they said, look, we have a place for you, but it costs at the time 40,000 euros or something. And I said, look, I don't have money for that. And they said, if you don't have money, there's nothing we can do for you. And a couple of weeks later, I got a call from Harvard Business School, and they said, look, you are accepted, your application was successful, and so we are inviting you to come for the MBA at the Harvard Business School. And I said, look, it's 2 years. I don't even have the money to do it in Europe for 1 year. I will never have that kind of money to do it at Harvard Business School. And the person on the other side of the phone, which I don't know was that person, but was someone from the school, said, look, if you are accepted to come to Harvard, we will help you and we'll solve your problem. And she said something that was stuck in my mind. She said, do you have money to take a flight to Boston? And I said, yes, I can take a flight to Boston. So you take a flight to Boston, I'll be at the airport, and we will solve that. And and that's America. I think that's the US. And so I took a flight, and she had a check from the Citibank of $80,000 at the time. That was basically a loan, of course, but it changed my life. And I was a young Portuguese kid. I just was starting my work as an engineer. I was a good student, but there was no reason for the United States or a school in the United States to help me. They helped me because they found that I had the talent and I was someone that will give or bring something to the school. And so when people in Europe talk about the US, I always say, look, the US is really the land of opportunities, because it was the place that, without looking at my background, without looking at who were my parents or my whatever, I mean, they just said, this is a person we want at Harvard Business School and we'll get him, and they paid for it. And so I got that loan, and I went to Harvard Business School, which was kind of a dream. I was very young, and I spent 2 years there, and changed my life in every aspect of it, in looking into the world. And so I owe it to the United States, and so I am, and I always be a very good friend of your country, because your country is really very special.
So when you talk about opportunity and the opportunity that you felt that you had, I think we'll both agree that the educational partnerships, the bilateral relationships, all of those things are such an important commitment for us to have and continue to work on. But when you're talking about creating opportunity, I know that one of the things that you really wanted to do here in Lisbon is to create opportunities. And of course, American tourists particularly are coming here in droves. Portugal and Lisbon are having their moment. I'd like to think that has to do with you and I, at least in part. But tell me a little bit about the process that's going into that, the people that are coming. What do you think is driving them?
I think there's there was a change that came quite suddenly 4 or 5 years ago. And then when we started really focusing on technology and innovation to attract people to come, these young entrepreneurs, young companies, startups, scale-ups. And then it's really word of mouth. There's one that comes, there's another one that comes after that. And so we started this big project called the Unicorn Factory. And I think that was really a very important moment for that, because people would come to conferences, they would come for tourism. I think that now US citizens and Americans, they're coming and they're staying. They're basically building companies here. And that is very important for us. It's very important to attract capital, and capital that creates jobs. And so I think that these days, I can tell you that now the US is #1 in terms of tourists. surpassed France and Italy. And in terms of investment on the technology side, it's also, of course, number one for so many reasons. And you know, I was inaugurating the other day one of these unicorns, and you look at the people that work there, and most of them at some point in their life, they were in the US, or studying, or in a company, or raising funds, venture capitalists. So the US is still that pole of attraction, that point of attraction of the world in terms of innovation. And so my project of innovation was really very similar to the idea of DARPA in the United States. And DARPA as an institution was really what changed somehow the vision around innovation in the US, because it was this vision that innovation is not an idea, is a process that delivers a product. And so the focus on the product, focus on the result of that innovation, and then you bring people around it and you can fund and finance that. And so also that inspiration of the process, of the way you look into innovation, comes from my experience also in the US and then in Europe, where I was heading the efforts of innovation in science in Europe. Europe is still very good at fundamental science, but then in Europe we are not able, as we should, to transform that knowledge into products. And the US is very strong in transforming knowledge into products.
And plays a big role with the unicorns and the
Absolutely,
development of the
absolutely,
unicorn program.
absolutely. So Lisbon really, it's very interesting. The other day I was with a lunch with Americans that have companies here, and I said, why do you come? Why do you come to Lisbon? And you always think that people tell you about tax reasons or labor costs or weather. You know, this is the typical thing. None around the table said that. They said, we came here because this is a city where when you arrive, you feel that you belong. And I felt that so warm and so really so true, because I think that Lisbon has this ability that even when you're a foreigner and you come, people treat you as equal. And they really enjoy talking from people. I mean, there's an innate kind of Portuguese thing that we are interested about others that come from outside. We want to know more, and that's something that I really cherish. And I think that most of the Americans that come here, they feel that. Of course, there was moments. I remember there was a journalist. I think his name is John Littman, that wrote an article about comparing San Francisco to Lisbon, and that Lisbon was like San Francisco in the US. And then people read the article, and there was a lot of buzz about that article, and then it became a trend. And I think that today, compared to I remember to be in the US a long time ago, people would not look into coming to Lisbon, and they'll come to Paris or Madrid, and now it's absolutely, I'm so proud, because Americans, the other day an American friend told me that in his circle, every circle, there's always someone that or was in Lisbon, or goes to Lisbon, or was less of like their parents are in Lisbon, or the brother is living in Lisbon. And so it's absolutely fantastic, and we need that, because we need that energy of the US, that energy, that positive energy, that positive energy of creating things, of not being afraid.
And lots of creatives coming since I've been here. I've had outreach from folks coming for science, folks coming from technology, lots of people coming from the arts, from the performing arts, and it's really exciting to see how they come and immediately blend into the communities. As you know, we hosted the Arts and Embassies program, which was really
fantastic.
A showcase of Portuguese and American artists coming together, talking about the landscape for arts and culture, the landscape for human rights, and the landscape for diversity. So I think that as the Americans and folks from all over the world come, it creates these conversations that I know are so important to you, about diversity, about equity, about all of the things that are really the important issues for us now.
Because, there's a lot of angles that you could look into diversity. And again, the US comes to mind. I had this professor at the Harvard Business School. She's an amazing woman. She's called Linda Hill, and she was the first African American woman to be tenured at Harvard. So she's really
Wow.
amazing.
And what year was that? When you were there?
That was it's in 2000. I think that she was already a tenured professor,
But
and
not that
she
long
worked
ago.
all her life in diversity. And she always taught me that diversity is really the mother of creativity, in the sense that when you work in a team that is diverse, it takes a little bit more time to work because people are different. So it's better for me to be with my friends because we just know each other, but there will be not a lot of creativity or not a lot of discovery. But if I make the effort to go through that moment where you feel a little bit uncomfortable because you're different, but if you feel uncomfortable, you become more creative. And so teams that have diversity, when it works, it's exponentially better than people that everybody looks alike or has the same background. And so Linda Hill studied that for 20, 30 years. And this is scientifically proven. I mean, you're talking about data, you're talking about experiences. And so when I came to have the responsibility of science, what I could confirm that what she taught me in the year 2000, it was a reality, because you could find in teams that the diversity was there, that the discoveries were totally different from the ones where that diversity was not there. I'll give you one example. In 1915, Einstein created the general theory of relativity. And at the time, he was alone. He wrote an article that changed the world. When I was in the commission in 2017, 1,000 scientists confirmed that theory of the gravitational waves of Einstein. They were 1,000 people from all over the world. So without 1,000 people from all over the world, from different universities, different backgrounds, one could not really confirm that what Einstein said was right. And so those teams where you have these differences are the ones that really get to the big things of today, because whatever was to be discovered in the core of a discipline was 100 years ago. Now you have to discover things that are on the intersection of disciplines. And if you want to be at an intersection of discipline, you really need different people that come from different backgrounds. So it's not just diversity of you and I or different religions, or it's also diversity of disciplines. Social sciences with mathematics or
Sure.
medicine. And you see that on the Nobel Prizes. Most of the Nobel laureates, they are not from the discipline where they get the Nobel Prize.
Right. And now they're asking artists to also take the place at the
Exactly.
scientific table as they come up with different theories, et cetera. So bringing all of that together, in the United States State Department, diversity is one of our most important tenets. And as you know, when I arrived here, I said, what's the face of America that I wanted to share? And it was really all about diversity and cultural diversity. And I felt like it was so well received by the people of Lisbon, by the Portuguese people of all of these diverse backgrounds. And the biggest compliment that I can get is when people see me and say, oh, you're the American ambassador. We consider you Portuguese. You're one of us. So I do believe that that very much resonates here, and I think that that's why a lot of our mutual work, the things that we've worked on both together and separately, is so successful here.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So what's next for Mayor Carlos Moedas?
So what's next? We have a lot of projects going on in the city. We have projects that are transforming the city. So we are doing the major works to protect the city from climate change. Really, the changes that climate change are, as you see today, we're having this rain and terrible floods, and so we are building these pipes below the ground to protect the city when it rains, that water can really go into those pipes and not flood the city. And that's something that I want to finish, I would not say before the end of my mandate, but in the next 3 years. and then with that we are protected, and with that water we can use that water to wash the streets, to basically to water the gardens, and not use drinkable water.
And the Algarve, places where there are really problems.
Absolutely. So we have to save water, and we're working in a lot of projects of sustainability on that matter. We are changing all the lighting of Lisbon for LEDs, which saves a lot of energy on our electricity bill. And so sustainability is definitely one of my major worries. With 36% of my budget is about that. The other big part is about really getting homes for people that cannot pay rent. A lot of people are struggling to pay rent, and of course the success of the city attracting people from outside makes
Double-edged
that
sword.
real estate prices go up. And so we are building a lot of housing, affordable housing. Since I've arrived, we've done more than almost 1,500 homes that we've handed in keys for people to pay in between 10 euros to 50 euros of rent. So, you know, instead of paying 1,000 euros of rent or more. And so housing is one of the challenges in most of our cities, not just Lisbon, but in other cities also in the world. And then every project that I'm doing in terms of mobility, cities are struggling with cars. And so how do you change that with the people and not against the people? Because you cannot just stop a city and say there's no more cars, because, you know, it doesn't work like that. But you can change. So we have just closed one of the main streets here, where we'll have just the tram, the people walking, and the bicycles. But you cannot go too fast. You have to go gradually. And then, as you know, we are only one of the only cities in Europe where public transportation for the young people is free, and for the elderly. So if you 23 or less years old, you have free transportation. If you're 65 or plus, you have free transportation. And that has brought a lot of people to the public transportation because it's free. And so you can do what I call a positive decarbonization, where people get the free ticket and they are helping the environment.
As opposed to congestion pricing.
Yes, which is a negative, you know, and people don't want those negatives. And you see the friction that has created in countries like France.
They're starting it in New York City.
And yeah, and in London. I mean, in London,
sure.
it is. So they're starting the congestion charge in New York.
They are.
Of course, it's uncomparable. I mean, we are a city that is 546,000 inhabitants, you know, and so for us, it's very different from like a city like New York or London or other cities. So I think it's a different ballgame.
Different solutions for the same problem.
Yeah. But so it's a lot about being a mayor is like being a social worker. You do a lot of social. You are social in the sense of taking care of people. And then if you take care of people, then you can invest in your dreams like innovation, culture. We're opening the new Museum of Design next year, the Museum Mood, it's called Mood. This will be here. We're opening another theater in Parque Mayer. We're opening different spaces for young people to be creative in the neighborhoods that I've called a theater per neighborhood. And theater being a place where they can improvise, they can rehearse, they can play. You need more places like that. So that experience of the theaters per neighborhood has been absolutely crucial for the communities. And so that's a lot of things on our plate, on the Lisbon.
And for you personally, will you stay in politics in Portugal?
Look, I love being a mayor. I'm very focused on the moment, so my mandate goes until 2025. But I think it's really a beautiful job. I was talking about Rahm Emanuel, and he inspired me a lot in the way that when he was mayor of Chicago, I think now he's an ambassador. So we have something in common. Exactly. Probably you're going to be a mayor at some point.
No, thank you.
And you know, he was someone, it's not comparable, but he was in the US government at a very, very high position as chief of staff of the president. And in his book, he says, really, I feel that being a mayor, it's much better. There's a story it tells about, I think, one American president that someone asked him, so how do you feel, Mr. President? I probably, it's Lincoln. Someone asked him, like, how do you feel about the burden of the power of being the President of the United States? And he said, it could be worse. I could be a mayor.
Well, I follow you on your Instagram, and you make it look natural and comfortable, and I see you in so many different venues with so many different communities, and I think that you bring that. We talked earlier about empathy, bring a certain level of empathy to the job. I think people can sense that authenticity and the fact that you care about them and you care about their day-to-day life, and that you're willing to be out there, with the people. That's something that I try so hard to do here in Portugal, and really has taught me to love your country, traveling all around and meeting with people in all of the communities, and the welcomeness and the welcoming and the focus on family. It really is something I think that will always stay close. I know it's certainly close to your heart and will always stay close to mine. And now, with your permission, we're going to go into our lightning round.
Yes.
So I'm going to ask you 5 very quick questions. Focus.
It's very
I'm going to ask you
difficult.
5 very quick questions, and you're going to give me just whatever answer comes first to the top of your head. Okay? So first of all, what is your favorite Portuguese dish to eat?
Grilled fish. I think that grilled fish in Portugal is very simple, very good, and it's the best in the world. Like Portuguese grilled fish, just grilled with vegetables, and it's so simple and so well done.
That's what I usually eat. Second, besides Portuguese cuisine, what's your second favorite cuisine?
I would be in between Italian and French in different ways, but it's difficult. I would say both Italian and French. I love it.
It's a tie. Okay. In Portugal, besides Lisbon, where's your favorite place to go visit?
So I'm from the south. I was born in the south. So I also love the region where I was born. It's a region that you feel very peaceful. There's like huge plots of land where you don't see the end of it. And the wineries, and in the south was full of that diversity, because you had this mixture in between Jewish people, Arabs and Christians for so long. I mean, when you go to my hometown, when you go down to the Algarve, you still feel that the religions were there for a long time. And so everybody has a relation into, or in the language, to some words that are more Arabic, or some language that is more Jewish or Christian. And so that is very inspiring. And so I would say going to Alentejo, which is my region.
I love Alentejo. In Lisbon, your favorite little secret spot that nobody really knows about?
My favorite.
Which won't be a secret anymore.
No, it would be a secret. There's a couple of places that I find a lot of peace. One is behind the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Tapada das Necessidades, which is a beautiful garden that is. You have to find it. You have to go there, and it was designed a long time ago. And it's a beautiful place to walk around with the nature, and it's in the middle of the town. It's surrounded by walls, so people don't even know that it exists. So I love that. I love the top of when you go to the home of Goa. Goa, it's on the top, a rooftop, where I love it too when I go there, because you see all the river. So there's so many nice spots that I find myself in this town, always discovering something new, right?
Yes, and last but not least, when you and your wonderful wife, Celine, who I adore, have a Sunday afternoon off, a lazy Sunday afternoon, what do you do?
Look, what do? We go, I love to walk on the beach in the winter, and so sometimes we just go down to the river, and then we walk almost outside of Lisbon, to Carcavelos, and go around, or going to Cascais. You know, we love to walk, and so we do long walks where you see the river, the sea, and then you go onto the beach, and then I love that feeling of Lisbon is a city where the light it's so strong and so overwhelming, because it's like the sun goes into the sea and the sand, and you are in the middle of the capital of the country, and so I love to do those walks with my wife, or sometimes just walking on the streets of Lisbon. I also love that.
Okay, thank you. Mayor, lovely to spend this time with you, and look forward to working together in 2024 on lots of fabulous projects.
Let's go.